Have you ever wondered how all your favorite apps and online accounts stay safe? Well, it turns out, if you want to build a digital fortress, you first have to think like the person who wants to tear it all down. So today, we're going to do just that. We're going to explore the pretty wild world of ethical hacking, where the good guys use the bad guys' playbook to keep our digital lives from falling apart.
And this battlefield, it's a lot closer than you might think. I mean, it's right there in your email, on your phone, and it is a constant, daily fight. Let's look at a couple of real-world examples you've probably seen 100 times.
Okay, here's a classic. At first glance, this looks totally legit, right? It looks like a real email from Netflix. It's got the logo, the branding, it feels familiar. And it's telling you your membership is on hold and you need to validate your payment info like right now. This is a perfect phishing attack. It's designed to make you panic and thus hand over your login and your credit card details without even thinking twice.
And here's another one, this time pretending to be PayPal. See that big, scary warning, your account was limited. It's all about creating a sense of urgency, pressuring you to click that link before you have a chance to think it through. But if you look a little closer, you can sometimes spot slightly off grammar or weird formatting. And those are the little mistakes they're hoping you're too worried to even notice.
But, phishing is just one tool in the attacker's toolbox. The stakes can get way, way higher. Malicious software or malware, it comes in all sorts of nasty forms, but one of the absolute worst is ransomware. You've got things like Ryuk, which has crippled entire hospitals, or CryptoLocker, which basically holds all of your personal files hostage. We're not just talking about an inconvenience here. This is stuff that can shut down critical city services and genuinely put lives at risk.
So with all these threats out there, it brings up a pretty huge question. How in the world do you fight an enemy who knows every trick in the book, who operates in the shadows, and always seems to be one step ahead? Well, the answer is probably not what you're thinking.
You fight a hacker by hiring a hacker. But not just any hacker. You hire an ethical hacker, the real and kind of surprising hero in our story of digital defense.
Now, it is super important to draw a clear line here. On one side, you've got the malicious attacker, sometimes called a cracker, and their whole goal is to break in, steal your stuff, or just cause chaos for fun. And then, on the other side, you have the ethical hacker. The crazy part is they use the exact same skills, but for a completely different and totally constructive purpose. And this is really the core of it all. An ethical hacker is a security professional who has explicit, written permission from a company to try and break into their systems. The goal isn't to cause harm, it's to find all the weaknesses, all the digital unlocked doors and open windows before a real attacker does. So how do they actually do it? This isn't just someone randomly mashing keys on a keyboard. Ethical hacking is a methodical, very structured process. So let's take a little peek inside their playbook.
Generally, the whole process boils down to a few key phases. It always kicks off with reconnaissance, which is just a fancy word for gathering information. Then they move on to scanning, where they're actively poking and prodding the target for weaknesses. And the final goal, of course, might be gaining access. But every single step is carefully documented, so the company can fix its defenses long before that ever happens in real life.
Let's start with that first step, reconnaissance. This is all about learning absolutely everything you can about the target. Who works there? What kind of technology do they use? What does their network even look like? It's exactly like a burglar who watches a house for days, learning the family's routine before they ever even think about touching the doorknob. Now, you might be thinking this is all about super complex code and hacking into satellites, but some of the most effective methods are surprisingly low-tech. Social engineering is literally just talking to people and tricking them into giving up information. Dumpster diving is, well, it's exactly what it sounds like, digging through the trash for helpful notes. And shoulder surfing is as simple as looking over someone's shoulder when they type in a password. It sounds basic, but these tricks can be unbelievably effective. Okay, so once they've cased the joint, the next phase is scanning. This is the digital version of walking around that house and just rattling every single doorknob, checking every window latch to see if something's unlocked. Hackers use all sorts of automated tools to probe a company's network for open ports, old software, or any other known vulnerability that might just be an easy way in.
So you're trying to break into a system, but you have to play by the rules. This is where the ethical part of ethical hacking is so important. This whole field operates under a very strict code of conduct.
And this is probably the big question that's been on your mind. Wait a minute, isn't this illegal? And yes, 100%. Under normal circumstances, breaking into a computer system you don't own is absolutely, definitely illegal. So, what makes this any different? Well, the difference is this strict code of conduct, all laid out in a contract. First and most importantly, you get permission in writing. That is the literal get-out-of-jail-free card. You also have to agree to obey all laws, respect the privacy of any data you happen to find, and above all else, do absolutely no harm to the systems you're testing.
And these tests, they come in a couple of different flavors too. In a white box test, the company gives the hacker a ton of information up front. We're talking network diagrams, maybe even source code, the whole shebang. But in a black box test, they get nothing, just the company's name. They have to figure everything out from the outside, just like a real attacker would have to.
So when you put this all together, you start to see that these professionals, they aren't the villains of our digital world at all. They're actually some of its most important guardians.
And the reality is, the threat is constant, and it's only growing. I mean, you can't read the news without seeing a story about another massive data breach or ransomware attack. All of it just highlights how badly we need people who can think like an attacker in order to build better defenses.
You know, a great way to think about them is as the immune system for our digital lives. They're proactively seeking out all the vulnerabilities, and that allows companies and organizations to patch up their security holes before a real bad guy can get in and do some serious damage.
And all of this kind of leaves us with one last, really important question to think about. In a world that's got such sophisticated threats, it forces us all to ask, are we really sure our own digital doors are locked? And if we aren't the ones checking, who is?